Okay, now let us talk about this article coming from the Mail Online, and we will be using this article as our proof, our evidence to show you the technology that they have. Now, many people on social media try to warn you guys, try to tell you, and you use the same old line. It's conspiracy theories, it's fake news, we're making stuff up, right? Now, what you're not about to say is that I'm spreading fake news. So let us get into our credible source, which is the Mail Online. And this article is dated the 24th of July, 2022. You can take someone's DNA and design a weapon that can kill them. House Intelligence Committee member warns people not to share health data with sites like 23andMe because it can be used to program new bioweapons to target them. Now, let's get into this article because all of a sudden they are spilling the beans. All of a sudden they feel like talking. I wonder why. A member of the U.S. House Intelligence Committee warns that bioweapons are being made that use a target's DNA to only kill that person. Now, if they can use an individual DNA to target that person, best believe they can target an entire ethnic group. Now remember, when we have various outbreaks, they like to tell you it's mainly affecting blacks and Asians, so they need to cooperate. Remember that line? Now you understand what is at play, right? And when we try to warn you, you say conspiracy theories. Let's continue. Speaking at the Aspen Security Forum on Friday, U.S. Representative Jason Crow of Colorado warned Americans to not be so cavalier about sharing their DNA with private companies due to the coming of the new type of weapon. Now, this technology is not new. It might be new to a lot of you because they are just starting to talk, but it is not new, right? And you need to understand, if they can target an individual, they can also target your food crops, your farm animals, right? So a lot of you will believe that when the food comes off the shelves, you'll be able to have your outdoor garden. It's not going to happen, right? You will have to make provision to plant your foods indoor, because these people have spent a lot of time and money to collect DNA. Everything about this life surrounds collecting DNA. It is your DNA that they can use to tell if you're part of the royal bloodline, right? And even if you are not a part of the royal bloodline, they can use this DNA to tell how many cycles of life you have lived, what you have done, what powers you possess, what skills or gift the Most High have given you that they can utilize. Right? So understand the power of DNA, and I want to know, why is it all of a sudden they are coming out and talking about this? Let's get into some more of this interesting article. You can actually take someone's DNA, you know their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person or take them off the battlefield or make them inoperable, Crow said. The congressman said the development of the weapon is worrisome, given the popularity of DNA testing services, where people willingly share their genetic mapping with businesses to gain insight on their genealogy and health. Right? So they use these social media personalities to convince you because they sound good, they look the part, right? And look, they're handing over their DNA, so I should do it also. Pay attention to what is happening around you and understand the trick, right? Because these people, they are going to collect your DNA one way or the other, right? So if it's not from the criminal database, then it has to be from a new system that they've created, where in some countries, if you want to make an application of residency for a relative, say a child, right, you have to prove to the country like the UK that you're related to that person. So hence they collect DNA. Now, what is it that they do with that DNA that they collect when they are finished with it? It's on their database, right? So if it's not from the criminal database, it's going to come from the immigration database. Because I know they do it in America and they do it in the UK. Making an application for residency for a relative, you've got to prove it. Prove that you're related to that person by submitting DNA. Right? Because it's all about collecting DNA. Now, in the interest of time, we'll skip a few lines because we need to find out who this gentleman is. Crow, a former Army Ranger who served 3 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, continued. People will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it to 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background. And guess what? Their DNA is now owned by a private company. It can be sold off with very little intellectual property protection or privacy protection, and we don't have legal and regulatory regime to deal with that. Right? So guess what is coming? Guess what is a new weapon? Right? And that is why they spend so much time and money to collect, to convince you to hand over your DNA willingly. Because if they are not getting enough DNA samples from the criminal database, best believe they're going to come up with ways and means to extract more DNA. And if you have to do any form of business that require you submitting samples for DNA, you know what to do. Let's get into some more articles, some more proof, some more evidence. And this is coming from The Guardian, right? Date February 18, 2017. Let's hear what the great Bill Gates has to say. The Oracle. Bill Gates warns tens of millions could be killed by bioterrorism. A chilling warning that tens of millions of people could be killed by bioterrorism was delivered at the Munich Security Conference by the world's richest man, Bill Gates. Gates, who has spent much of the last 20 years founding a global health campaign, said, "We ignore the link between health security and international security at our peril." Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, who has spent billions in philanthropic drive to improve health worldwide, said, "The next epidemic could originate on the computer screen of a terrorist intent on using genetic engineering to create a synthetic version of the smallpox virus or a super contagious and deadly strain of the flu." Now a lot of you people are about to learn when the Bible says, if the days are not cut short, no flesh will be left. Right? Understand the technology that they have and how they will use it. Right? We are in the end times. Right? Do your research. Ask questions. Right? Because these personalities on social media sounds the part and look the part. Do your research. Right? We need to pray, right, and ask for guidance. As I say, glory be to the Most High.